Let's have a look at the common foreign and security politics scheme, GASP, as we say. More challenges come from outside Europe. The world in 2017 is characterized by crisis, conflicts and uncertainty. A world in turmoil, as our German Foreign Minister Frank-Walter Steinmeier, our future head of state, said. Russia questions the fundamental principles of the European order of peace, annexing the Crimea and showing ballistic presence in eastern Ukraine. Islamist terror and refugee migration come from countries like, I mentioned it already, Syria, Iraq, Libya. Donald Trump's election preoccupies not only here in New Zealand, but brings huge uncertainties also to Europe. How will we cooperate in the future? Will it be based on dealing principles? What will happen to the NATO regarding the USA's losing will to engage in the world's developments? Everywhere the situation is really complex and hard to understand. That is sand on the populists' mills, who seem to offer simple answers. But there is no easy solution to closed borders, discontinue political relationships, or leave the NATO. Recipes that are suggested by populists. First of all, dangers to Europe coming from the described multiple crises can only be resolved unitedly and with reliable partners. For Germany, that is the EU at first. Today, the EU faces new security risks and an increasing threatening international situation. External risks have moved closer to our borders. No EU member state can face these global issues alone, not even Germany. The EU has to speak risks and increasingly threatening international situation. It has to face these situations. External risks have moved, the EU has to speak with one voice in this respect, more than ever before. Otherwise we won't be heard anymore. We must not be paralyzed by our sorrows about the world. Just now, we need a reliable and courageous European foreign policy. War and terror come to Europe, also in Germany. I mentioned it. We mourn the death of several Germans and foreigners because of the terror attack in Berlin. Europe has to take on more responsibility for peace and safety in the world, as crisis manager and as mediator. And yes, in case of emergency, also with military means. This has a great sustain among the European citizens. 2/3 want more Europe when it comes to foreign and security policy. Times of uncertainty are always times of self-assurance. What are the Europeans ready to do in terms of security policy? What are we able to do and what do we want to contribute? To make one thing clear, when it comes to foreign and security policy, it is not only about interests. It is about common values. Democracy, the rule of law, tolerance for minorities, and the freedom of speech and press. These principles are hallmarks of Europe. We have to live in these principles day by day ourselves and defend them against attacks within the EU if we want to seek compliance by others. The EU is a community of principles. That's why the German government has made it clear to the new US administration, our future cooperation depends not on power, but on principles and values. Our currency, the euro. Let me introduce you to another challenge that bothered European politicians already for a while and isn't completely settled yet. Our currency, the euro. It's actually the most tangible proof of European integration. The common currency in 19 of 28 EU countries and used by some 338 million people every day. The benefit of common currency are immediately obvious to anyone traveling abroad or shopping online on websites based in other EU countries. The countries using the euro are collectively known as the Eurozone. Over 175 million people worldwide use currencies which are pegged to the euro. A single currency offers many advantages. It eliminates fluctuating exchange rates and exchange costs. It makes it easier for companies to conduct cross-border trade. The economy is more stable. A common currency also encourages people to travel and shop in other countries. At global level, the euro gives the EU more clout, as it is the second most important international currency after the US dollar now. The independent European Central Bank in Frankfurt on the Main is in charge of monetary issues in the EU. Its main goal is to maintain price stability. The European Central Bank also sets a number of key interest rates for the euro area. Although taxes are still levied by the EU countries and each country decides upon its own budget, national governments have devised common rules on public finances to be able to coordinate their activities. Unfortunately, the coordination between the member states can't resolve all problems that we still have. The acute phase of the euro crisis may be over, but it has been replaced by a constant crisis. The European Monetary Union has some construction faults that are still not fixed. For example, with one common currency, single member states can't devalue anymore. Then, more important, politics on finance and economy haven't been aligned equally. Before the monetary union was founded, many economists doubted that a monetary currency would work out without having harmonized politics of finance and economy. It turns out that they are probably right with this prediction. But a harmonization of these core fields of national politics was simply not achievable. Later, the members of the monetary union decided to implement regulations for national politics to implement the principle that no member state vouches on the debts of another member state, the so-called bailout ban. That is the theory, but in practice there are huge transfer payments from the wealthier member states to those in trouble. Greece is the most obvious example.